She said the words like they were nothing. Over a recorded jail phone call, cold, emotionless, she shrugged and said, "Why should I apologize? I'm as much a victim as they are." This from a woman who'd blown through red lights, crushed a family in the street, and walked into court acting like she deserved leniency. And when the judge finally delivered poetic justice, she discovered the world wasn't buying her act anymore. Before we dive in, if you've ever watched someone dodge accountability until reality finally caught up to them, hit that subscribe button. Like this video so more people hear stories where justice doesn't whisper, it booms. All right, let's get into this one because it's a story that shook an entire community. There are reckless drivers, and then there are people like her. People who treat the streets like their own personal racetrack. People who think rules were made for everyone else. In Brooklyn, neighbors already knew one thing about the woman behind the wheel that day she drove like the world owed her the road. Speeding tickets. She had them like trading cards. 20 on record. Fines. Try 12 and outstanding citations. A license. Suspended. But that didn't stop her. Nothing ever did. She was 34 years old, chronically reckless, and had somehow convinced herself she was invincible. And that mindset, those years of shrugging off consequences, built to one horrific moment. It started as just another drive, according to her. No plan, no destination, just speed for the sake of speed. Imagine a quiet Brooklyn morning. Kids in puffy jackets holding their parents' hands, cars inching through intersections, the city breathing its usual rhythm. And then, here she comes. A blur of metal tearing down a 25 meth road at 68 miles per hour, almost triple the limit. Witnesses later said she drove like she was trying to outrun something, like she thought if she moved fast enough, nothing could touch her. The first red light. She didn't even tap the brakes. The second. Same thing. She thundered straight through it. Oh. But this time, she didn't get through clean. A driver crossing lawfully had no time to react. Her car slammed into the side of his, spinning him like a toy. Glass burst across the pavement. But instead of stopping, instead of realizing what she'd done, she kept going. Her car lurched forward, out of control, carrying all the destruction she'd already caused, straight into the worst possible place. A crosswalk. A mother and her 3 children were crossing together. A normal morning. A normal routine. They never saw her coming. The impact was catastrophic. People on sidewalks screamed. Someone dropped their coffee and bolted. A man ran into traffic to help, even as cars swerved around him. When it was over, 3 lives were gone. Only a 4-year-old child survived, barely. Skull fractures, a brain bleed. A tiny fighter clinging to life in a hospital bed. Brooklyn mourned. Strangers placed flowers at the intersection. Parents held their kids tighter. And somewhere in a holding cell, the woman responsible wasn't mourning. She was rehearsing excuses. You'd think that after that level of tragedy, after destroying a family, she'd feel something. Guilt. Remorse. Regret. But when investigators pulled her recorded jail calls, what they heard was chilling. Her voice wasn't cracking. It wasn't trembling. It was annoyed, as if the world was inconveniencing her. She said, "Why should I apologize? I'm as much a victim as they are." The room listening to the recording fell silent. Prosecutors stared at the audio tech like they couldn't believe what they'd heard. A mother and her children were gone. A survivor was fighting for their life, and she saw herself as the victim. That recording spread through the DA's office like wildfire. It shifted the entire tone of the case. Because here's the thing about the justice system. Judges and juries aren't just looking at what you did. They're looking at who you are when the consequences show up. And she had made it very, very clear. When she walked into court, she looked like she'd practiced in the mirror. Hair neat, face soft, shoulders slightly slumped, the classic, "please pity me" posture. And she tried to play the part to perfection. Her attorney started drumming up the story. She's thinking about the victims every day. She's traumatized by what happened. She's punishing herself already. And she nodded along as if she were the portrait of sorrow. But the families in the courtroom didn't buy it. The prosecutors didn't buy it. They had heard the real her. And soon, so did the judge. When the prosecution played the recording, the temperature in the room seemed to drop. The judge leaned back, eyes narrowing slightly. Everyone heard it. Everyone heard her dismissiveness, her complete lack of accountability, and when the recording ended, there was a long silence, the kind that you can feel in your bones. The judge finally spoke, not angrily, not loudly, just firmly, with the steady weight of reality. He laid out her history: 20 speeding tickets, 12,000 in unpaid fines, a suspended license, a pattern of recklessness that finally led to the unthinkable. He described her driving that day as extraordinarily dangerous. He said her disregard for everyone around her didn't start on that street. It started long ago. And then he said the words that made every person in that courtroom exhale: "You are not the victim here." She blinked. Her mouth tightened. For the first time, her performance cracked because she thought she'd get sympathy. She thought remorse was optional. She thought consequences were negotiable. But they weren't, not anymore. She pleaded for leniency. She asked for the minimum. She asked the court to remember her pain. She talked about how she thinks about the people she killed, as if that alone was enough. But the judge looked at the facts, the recording, the devastation, and he gave her 3 to 9 years in prison for 3 counts of second-degree manslaughter. Was it as long as people wanted? No. Many wished it were longer. But for the first time in her life, she was facing something she had avoided for years: accountability. No excuses. No dismissing tickets. No shrugging off fines. No pretending the world revolved around her. Just consequences. Real ones. And the families, while still shattered, felt a small sense of relief, because justice may not have reversed the tragedy, but it refused to let her walk away pretending she was the injured party. The poetic justice wasn't just the sentence. It was the moment she realized her victim narrative had collapsed. When the judge delivered the ruling, her face went pale. Her mouth opened slightly, an involuntary gasp, because she finally understood the world saw through her. All of it. The years of reckless choices, the indifference, the lies, the fake remorse. For the first time, she wasn't in control. She wasn't outrunning anything. Her speed, her excuses, they'd carried her as far as they could. And this time, the brakes were locked. The community that had been shattered by her actions finally saw her held responsible. And the justice system, often criticized for being lenient, made her face a truth she'd spent years avoiding. That was the real revenge, not from a person, but from the universe finally saying enough. At the end of the day, justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it arrives quietly, one sentence at a time, but whether it comes fast or slow, the truth always catches the people who think they're above consequences. And when it does, there's no speeding away from it. If you found this story powerful, hit that like button. It helps these stories reach more people. Subscribe for more real world justice, revenge, and accountability stories every week. And tell me in the comments, what's the most shocking, I'm the victim, moment you've ever witnessed? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.